Welcome to the Mills Knows Bills podcast. My name is Mills Bender. I'm the founder and CEO of Mills Knows Bills, where we help you, variable income earners, master your money in 90 days. The point of this podcast is to help you make the most of your fluctuating income so you can stop living paycheck to paycheck, pay off your debt twice as fast, and get on track toward reaching both your personal and professional financial goals. Now, as I continue to grow my team here at MKB, you may have some guest hosts from time to time. However, our goal does not change. Whether we're bringing in a guest speaker, having an in-depth conversation about our personal finances, or talking about a topic that is of interest to you, our goal is to help you master your money. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Mills Knows Bills podcast. I'm your host, as well as founder and CEO of Mills Knows Bills, Mills Bender. With me today, I have joining my fellow South Floridian, Rob, and we're going to have a great time here chatting about profits and saving, as well as what it means to be in real estate in a different way. So, Rob, take a moment, introduce yourself, and then we'll get kickstarted with your burning financial question.
Of course. My name is Robert Ortiz. I'm out here from South Florida. Not the typical real estate investor. We don't buy and rent out properties. We just flip them to investors for a huge profit, primarily land. And when you're making all this money, it's good to know somebody like Mills because you got to know what to do with that money once you get it in your pocket. So just a little quick thing about me.
I love it. And I'm excited to allow everybody to learn more about you towards the end of the episode here as well. What is your burning financial question, my friend?
So my biggest thing is when we're flipping real estate, sometimes, it's not the traditional thing where you might make $2,000, $3,000. Sometimes we're making $10, $15, $20, $30,000 on one pop. Nice. And being young, it's easy to go blow all this money. So my burning question is going to be, what's the best way to reinvest it in your business for long-term growth, as well as a good system on saving some of that money and growing it?
Absolutely love it. So it's funny that you say that because you and I are about the same age, and the previous guest we have is about 10 years older, and he asked a very similar question. And so I'm excited to answer it, but maybe in a way that's a little bit more applicable to you where you're at right now. The first thing I would say is you need to establish a budget. And I know that the B word is not the funnest thing in the world, okay? A lot of people automatically think budget means restriction, when in reality, a budget is supposed to be a monetary reflection of our priorities. So when done properly, it's actually meant to give us freedom. And so given where you're at right now, if you've not done so already, I would suggest you establish a budget for your personal finances first. Breaking it down into two different pieces: your mandatory part of your budget, which is like your living and debt expenses, and then the extras on top of that, like dining out, entertainment, clothing, all of the other fun stuff in your personal finances. And then what you're going to see are two different numbers: what you got to pay yourself in order to cover your bills versus what you really want to pay yourself to not just survive, but also thrive. Okay?
Yep.
Then we're going to take that thriving number and we're going to then establish a business budget, taking that thriving number and putting it in the business budget first. Okay? You're going to stack on top of that number 30% for taxes. Just set it aside, save it, pay a portion of it through your W-2 payroll. We don't need to get into the nitty-gritty part of that right now, but thriving number, an extra 30% for taxes, and then all of your other business expenses. Once you calculate the total for your monthly budget on the business side, now you have a sales number goal. Why does this matter? Well, you need to know that number because by knowing that number, you now know how much of that revenue you receive needs to stay in the business, needs to go to your personal versus any extra fluff that you got. Okay, so let's talk about if you hit that sales goal number. And let's say that sales goal number is $20K a month. Okay. However, I know that we're recording this at the beginning of February and you're going back and looking over everything for January. let's say for January, rather than hitting 20K, you actually generated 30, right? You have 10K of fluff that you get to do something with. Being at the point that you are in business right now, take as much of that 10K as possible, reward yourself a little bit, and then take the rest and put it towards an emergency fund meant for your business. You need to establish at least 3 months of your mandatory business expenses in a separate account. Why? Because maybe next month you make 10K, right? But you know you need 20K to fully operate. Where are you going to get that extra 10K from? The 10K that you set aside the previous month. The idea here, as Vin Henry's variable income earners who are making a lot of money, right, but don't tend to have much to show for it, our business revenue is going to fluctuate. And as a result, our personal income is going to fluctuate. You want your business to harbor as much of that variability as possible so your personal finances can stay as fixed as possible. So when you have that fluff, all of that should go towards the savings account. Once your savings account is fully established, you have at least 3 months set aside. If you have any outstanding debt greater than 10% APR, think of credit cards, those are the most common, pay down those bad boys. Then your first part of your question was, well, how do I reinvest profits back into the business to help it scale and grow? If you continue to have that fluff, look at where you get the highest rate of return. Are you getting the highest rate of return by ad spend? By, door-to-door knocking? By mailers? In your personal investment accounts? Look at the actual rate of return across all of the possibilities in both your business and personal finances. And then, anytime you get fluff, do a little bit of maybe your top 3 highest rates of return, putting most of the weight where you get most of the return. Does that make sense?
100%. That's a clear game plan.
Good. Do you have any follow-up questions based off of that response?
No, that's actually a very good structure, because usually what I would do is anything that was profit in the business, I won't lie, I'm like, okay, a little extra money to put in my pocket at the end of the day. I had a emergency business fund is what I called it, but I'm like, let's just keep putting it into marketing. And I would just take the money out, because I'm like, I'd rather put $5,000 and $10,000 into marketing now than have it for down the road. But I do have some of those months sometimes where, like, okay, our goal was, 50, 60,000, and we ended up like at 30 or 20. And then we still have closers and cold callers and all of our marketing expenses and operational expenses. And we would kind of be upside down a little bit, So that is a huge gem I'm about to apply.
Good. I'm happy to hear that. And it's, it's not the sexiest part of, managing finances on the business side. But what I will say is that you want to think about that emergency fund as your self-insurance plan. Because if you just keep running, but you've not properly learned how to walk, you might run into a wall. Right? A lot of people will talk about growth and business ownership as linear. It's really not linear, especially when it comes to finances in your business. You need to think of growth as a step ladder, right? You need to establish that emergency fund. You need to pay off that high interest debt. You need to reinvest and invest in other areas. Because if you fall down a slope that is completely linear, you're going to fall all the way back down to the bottom. But if you're doing this step ladder and you fall back, you're only going to fall back to one step. And that's what that emergency fund is. It kind of keeps you from going all the way back down to the bottom.
Okay. No, that is very interesting. Yeah, because usually, especially in real estate, you'll have a month full of great deals and you have a month full of few deals, Consistency is a little bit tough until you start really building it up. So it makes a lot of sense, yeah, because it's not just linear up. It's you start spiraling a little bit, you know what I'm saying? It's like that little meme. But you know what? That emergency fund will help you through those spirals for sure. I should have put more emphasis on that from the beginning, but good thing we're having this conversation at the beginning of the year.
Well, you know what? At least you have some emergency fund to fall back on in the meantime. it allows you to keep moving forward, and now you just get to keep building off of it. You've been taking the right steps. Now you just get to double down on them, which is awesome. So
sweet. You
brought back up real estate. Tell everybody a little bit more about the type of real estate investments and flipping that you do, because it's not commonly talked about.
Yeah, so I mean, it in the entrepreneurial world, it's a little bit it's well known as wholesaling, where you find a ran down house and you go flip it to an investor, and it's sexy to do it. It's like, I got this house at a discount, we're about to go flip it for 50, 60K, until you got to go through 100 rejections, and it's not the sexiest thing in the world no more. Mm-hmm. So we kind of pivoted a little bit, out here in Florida, and you know it too, is that there is just so many people these days who their houses, they're just so expensive, and most people can't afford these houses. So what ended up happening is we actually find land at discounts and we go flip them to builders all over Florida. And these transactions happen in as little as 2 weeks to maximum 20, 25 days. And we're making a good penny on these lands. And it's even cooler because we stay in contact with the builders and we see all these beautiful homes that they're building. So super easy to get into. It's not as hard as flipping houses, and it's way quicker. But that's pretty much what we do, and there's land everywhere to do this at. There's builders always finding land, and most of the time these builders are so busy, they don't want to deal with trying to buy land from people. They just want to get the land and keep going.
Sure.
So they call people like us to
kind of help do it. That's awesome. And so who would you be looking for, based off of our listeners right now, to kind of bring into the business? Are you looking for more people who are interested in doing what you do? Are you looking for builders? Are you looking for buyers? What's the best type of contact for you right now?
The best three, and I always say these are the best three in almost anything. Number one, if you know anybody who is selling their land in Florida, we do give you a hefty referral fee based on whatever the land is. So if you know grandma, aunt, cousin who's selling the land, reach out to us. And even Mills is gonna get a little piece of the deal just because we're going through her network. So she's gonna put some of those bills away too. So yeah, number one, who do you know who's selling your land in Florida? We'd love to have a conversation. Number two, if you're interested in joining the team to help us make some offers, lock up some deals, that is always awesome. We're always looking for people to jump on the team with us. And then number three, if you're a builder, if you listen to this and you're a builder, you're just getting started out, you're looking to buy some land here in Florida, would love to have a conversation. Even if it's, we just started Texas today.
Nice.
Of marketing in Texas. Yeah, in Dallas, Texas. We're looking for land in Dallas, Texas, because a guy reached out to me. He's like, I'm a builder. I see what you're doing in Florida. We want to do the same thing in Texas. Can you start helping us find land? So we just launched that today. So even if you're in Arizona, you're like, hey, I'm trying to buy land. Can we start some marketing efforts to get this in motion so we could buy land from you? So yeah, sellers, if you want to join the team, or if you're a buyer/builder.
Rob, that's so exciting. I'm really happy for you. That's awesome. Oh my gosh. So how can somebody reach out to you then if they're one of those three categories? What's the best way?
I'd probably say Instagram. I think it's always the easiest to give out the handle, official Rob Ortiz. If you're a Facebook person, Robert Ortiz. I don't know how many Roberts are on there. But it would be Robert Ortiz on Facebook. How else? I mean, yeah, that's probably it. Instagram would probably be the best way. Official Rob Ortiz.
Awesome. Well, if anybody listening to this podcast or watching it on YouTube wants to partner with Rob in some capacity, be sure to go to his Instagram, official Rob Ortiz. The link is also going to be in the show notes below. So be sure to click on that link and connect with him directly. Rob, thank you so much for taking time out of your day. I've really loved talking with you, and I can't wait to hear about your new Dallas venture.
I appreciate you. Thank you for having me on in all the clear direction. I know it's not only going to help me, but it's going to help many others. So definitely appreciate you.
My pleasure. I'll see you soon.
If you stuck around long enough to get to this part of the podcast, I just want to say thank you. We really appreciate the fact that you take the time to listen to the content in its entirety, because we do pour our hearts and soul into every single piece of content we let out. So thank you for being here. I want to let you know that if you're in a space where you're trying to level up your finances, you can always snag some free resources on our YouTube channel, Instagram. You're always welcome to email us at info@millsknowsbills.com. And if you're interested in taking part of any of our coaching programs or courses, be sure to mention our podcast to get a special discount, okay? We want to make sure that you are making the most of your financial investment. Again, I am your host, Mills Bender, founder and CEO of Mills Knows Bills. Thank you so much for listening. And just because I gotta, here's a quick little disclaimer. I want to remind you that this podcast is strictly discussion, okay? It's general, it's educational in nature. We don't provide any specific tax, investment, legal, or financial advice on this podcast with respect to any particular individual, okay? So if you're in a situation where you need specific help, please consult your own advisor regarding your unique situation because it's not a one-size-fits-all.